I'll read. Whoops, that's me. Okay, Jackie, thank you so much again for joining us and for being um, just brave to share your story with us. So if you could start just telling us about you, a little bit of your story, that would be great.
Okay. Now, I was born and bred in Kenya, and I came to the UK as a student in 2002. And that was amazing because I then studied marketing and I ended up working with amazing, beautiful organizations. I worked with tier funds. I worked when I was away from before I came to the UK, I worked in Mission Aviation Fellowship. Some of you will know these organizations. I work with UNEP, the headquarters with the children um, outreach on climate change. And I remember these children, the artists of the children's world in the world, sending pictures of whales and, climate change kind of type pictures at the time. And that was years ago. And so I was already set to be a woman that didn't live in the same country I lived in. I knew I didn't want to live there. I knew I was fortuned and destined in terms of the Lord had just set me away. And I didn't know where I would end up, but I ended up in England for quite a number of years. 2002, I worked with Tier Fund. I worked with London City Mission. That's where I met Duncan. He will remember that. And I worked with other organizations. I don't need to name all of them because some of them were business, a Fortune 150 company that sent me around the world gallivanting and doing market insight for them and research before the 2008, recession. So I went to TF I went to, and I came around here when, my husband was he worked so many companies, I cannot name them. But then he then said to me, Jackie, we are both so tired of being in London because London's a bit heavy lifting. I remember going into a car to TF Fund at 6:15 on the one occasion and from North London, and then on the way down, somebody was being cut out of their car because there's an accident. On the way back, somebody was being cut out of their car at 5. And I remember going home and saying, I feel so depressed because the trip I have to drive is absolutely scary. People are being cut out of their cars, and that could be me if I made one wrong move. So I remember just saying to him, but because I'm a Christian, quickly, I know I'm fine, and that's my kind of background. And today, just going up to today, because I know we have time to look into, I I have 2 jobs. For Meadowbank right here, I've been putting up fines for the extra groups room that are going to hire our halls because I'm the outreach and program worker. So I run a cook club for vulnerable adults, and a lot of them have very heavy learning disabilities and like, and we don't ask what your health conditions are. Whereas my other job, which is a welfare rights and debt advisor, is to ask about all those details, including, I feel yesterday I was talking to somebody and I was like, I feel a bit embarrassed, but I have to ask you, do you have incontinence issues because of your bowel issue? And my goodness, but it's it's kind of so hard to ask, and you've got to be the kind of person that can ask it. And they say, yeah, I know you're doing my welfare rights, you're doing my benefit, so you're helping me with that. So they tell you, and they tell you the truth. And I have to sometimes say, I've had it all. I do these every day. And they say, okay, yeah, I have problems. But how hard is that? Can you imagine if you had a job that had to do that? Anyway, the other job, the Meadowbank one, I met Maria through that because sometimes we have exhibitions because we got this amazing minister who's retiring in December, but he just believes in everything. I mean, right now, if I could, if I don't know if you can see that, but if I could just do, sorry, the video, the Black Lives Matter thingy is over there. Video when I did that. I don't know what I touched, but if you look at I don't know what you can see, but there's a Black Lives Matter there in the chat for me, and somebody could throw a stone through the window for that. So when we're talking racism, I'm talking, I have an absolutely amazing supportive manager, minister, wherever you want to call him, but he's also my friend, you know. Anyway, let's move on because I'm just aware of time. And you know that I do the welfare rights and debt side. So I help people with benefits, I help people with their debt. I bankrupt people who perhaps have cancelled. I've bankrupted somebody with cancel historic council tax debt, 20,000 plus. Why? Because of a discrepancy in the system. And I have to then argue for them because they've been taken to the tribunal, the court, and they've been served by the council, especially Edinburgh Council, quite quick to do that. And then I then bankrupt all the debt, including the historic rent arrears. And guess what? At the end, the person just says, Jackie, I just feel like I had that weight over my shoulders, but I feel like, and I've bankrupted Black, every other colored person in every other description. It's, which, and I don't mind. A lot of them are Scottish and they are locals, but they are all poor, struggling people. And they're all in that job. So, Maria, can you move on just so we keep time? I know. Sorry.
So Jackie, I'll just move on to the third question right away. Now that you mentioned the sign, the cartel, Black Lives Matter. So, how have you experienced racism?
Mine's a bit weird, and the reason I want, I spoke with Maria yesterday, and I wanted to say one thing. I have experienced racism in different contexts where it's not racism, sometimes it's ignorance. And ignorance, a lot of my friends, particularly from LCM where I worked with Duncan, are just amazing people. They would never be racist or never intentionally. However, sometimes it's a bit of a cultural thing. And every time when I was a marketing manager or I was a chartered marketer at some point, and I would go into a marketing meeting and the first question would be, where are you from? And I'm like, why did you ask the other white lady where she was from or any other lady? But because I'm Black, that's the first question. Where am I from? Because there's almost a beggar's belief that I'm Black and I know anything, I'm coherent, I'm conversing well, I am not with an accent that's distinguishable. So the people are confused. And I get that. However, that's the one hate question. If you want to ask me where I'm from, start with, where do you work, Jackie? And then by the time we get where are you from, it's a third question. don't ask me as a first question. Just for every other folk that cares about this. You know what I mean? It just, I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm being really honest, and I hope nobody's upset by it. And I'm trying not to upset anyone, but I just feel I'm trying to. This is a forum that's opened up for us to be honest in our lunchtime, you know. So don't ask me where I'm from. Just ask me, Jackie, oh wow, what do you do? And then in that, I would say, do you know what? I'm Kenyan by origin. I might offer that information because I know that you want to know. Just give me that space to be just a person. That's it. And anyway, when I joined one of these charities, and I will name them because I'm not trying to shame them, I had a manager that would tell me, oh, yeah, I have a Black friend. And that's like the other third thing you hate. And that's not overt racism, but I'm talking about right now non-overt racism. So she had books on her shelf saying how to manage a diverse team. I was the only ever Black person in the whole hall of 50 people within the charity. It was huge. They had a huge building. And you know, how to manage Black people. No, there was no Black people thing because it's never that direct, but it was how to manage a diverse team. 2 books. Why don't you keep them in your house? Because it's my first day. If I come in and I see that title on your shelf and there's no other books for anything else that's coherent, and I'm educated, I think, oh my goodness, who am I working for? And then it proceeded with, and that's overt racism that is not even intentional. It's ignorant rather than racism. I never call it racism in this context. She then carried on and would speak to me slowly, quietly, so I can understand. Because I imagine the book said, speak slowly because they may not understand you. You know, but then she never then took time to listen to me as a person and realize I've just had a master's in business from a huge university and I had a merit. I I I outranked all my other students. I was the student coordinator. I was the student kind of top person in my group. And I'm thinking, I don't think I speak that badly for you to have to get a diverse team management book. And if you have it, keep it at home. You don't have to bring it to work. So I know that you're recognizing that for the first time in your life, you have a diverse team. Because that's what it's saying to me when it's in your shelf and there are no other books. There's not even a general management book on your shelf. So it's little things like that. And guess what? An Asian lady joined maybe a couple of weeks after me, and she said, I hear her speaking slowly, clearly, so you can understand that. I am raging and angry by that because she's a British born girl. I'm not, I'm Kenyan born. So for me, I was giving her a lot of leeway, and it was early on in the day when I just didn't want to lash out at my own manager. And you know what she said, Jackie? Either you speak to her or I will. And I said, I will speak to her. And I had a meeting with this woman. I spoke to HR beforehand and they offered support. And I said, no, I don't want the support. This is the kind of thing that I need to never happen again. And when I say to her exactly what I'm feeling without emotions, without anything, I think that will work. And it did. Because I just said, when you speak slowly and clearly or whatever you're trying to do, I feel, do you think I'm not hearing you? Or I have a hearing issue? Or what is it? Because I tackle the issues without tackling the extras, and that worked, and it built my confidence as a person. And that was great because you know what? It's hard. That's the hardest conversation I ever had. Can you imagine that your line manager and you're thinking, I'm gonna be fucked tomorrow if we hate it after that? But that's my life. That's my life. And it's the right forum that I can share. And I really value that you're giving that. Now, the other two are the hate crimes I reported in this pandemic. And I will just give the long and short of them because I know that time is going and I want questions and all that. So the first one was I was, the very first lockdown, 2020, that would have been about April or March. No, April-ish or past. I don't remember the exact date. I was walking because we were allowed one walk a day, once a week. That's what, sorry, the hay fever. Sorry, bear with me on that one. And I was walking, I'd walked a long walk down the lane and all of that. I'm down a part of Edinburgh. And I came back and I was crossing a road to my house. My house was the next place after I crossed the road. And I'd seen these teens with their mates playing about when I went on my walk. When I came back, they were the two of them who I'd never seen around that street were there, and they started doing the whole ape thingy. It was the BLM time where everyone was taking the knee, and BLM was highlighted. And you know what they did? They were like doing this whole gesture, black, like an ape kind of. They did that to Lewis Hamilton when he joined Formula One. I remember that because they were explaining it in the news that means you're an ape. And we're all an ape because Kenya, the first human being has been traced to Kenya, where I am born. When I went to the museum there, all white people, all black people, everybody has been traced. The Homo habilis was in Kenya. So there's nobody who can say that, they're any different. They just evolved with the color, with the climate, with everything. And that's why white people are whiter, because they then went to the colder part. They migrated. But Homo habilis was from Kenya, and I'm proud of that because I've gone to that museum and seen that. And I forever walk proud of being black and beautiful. I think I'm black and beautiful, and some people then get threatened by that. And that's a problem. That is. And my other incident was when an older gentleman, that's the one I get really cross about, and I'll try not to feel upset about it. He was walking his dog, and he just, I moved aside because I saw his dog and him down a popular place around my street, same street. So, and then I moved aside. I was just getting ready, but I was not quick enough. And he started harassing me. He checked out all sorts of abuse. And the moment I looked at his face and body language, I knew he was hurling rubbish. So I cranked up my music. I always, the way I have this headset, I always have that when I'm walking because I'm listening to music, Christian music, all sorts of music, even other music. And I cranked it up and I said, I can see in my head, I can see from your body language, you're being absolutely angry and evil and horrible. I am not going to listen to that. I don't need to go to bed knowing what you called me. And in many respects, in hindsight, I think he called me the N-word or whatever because there was. It turned out I cranked up my music. I ignored him like the other people, and I just looked at him and I just completely ignored what he said. And guess what? There was a young couple, maybe about 20 to 29, and they had everything. And you know what they said? They came round, they put their hands around me, and I'll cry about that because that was nice. They put their hands around me, and when I in the in other questions when we talk about what would you do, I think if you're white and you watch me going through that ahead of you, you put your hand around me and you say, "Don't worry, we had everything. It was horrible." That's what they said to me, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But yeah, that one I tear up about. you know, I think I'm strong, but I tear about that one because it was so nice. And they said we had everything. It was horrible. Do you know what I said to them? Don't tell me what they said. I don't want to go to bed knowing they call me the N word or any other negative thing. I didn't want to know that. As a Christian, that helped me forgive them. It helped me forgive them. Because if I didn't hear, I'm not overhearing it my time or whatever. So for me, that helped me. That really did. And the downside of this is that the police took the my hate crime, whatever, they took that, they recorded that. But both of them. But then this one with the old man, I see him when I'm working from home, I see him walking past my house, walking the dog, his dog, same dog. And I have to not, like I saw him yesterday and I couldn't tell my hubby because I was like, he's gonna get angry and run out to go and confront him, because he's trying to protect me. I don't want him to do that. So I have to just mum it, live with it, mum it. That's what it is. And I think I wish we had even more. And I'm happy for you to call me again today again because I think the other Asian, Black, other race, different people will be able to maybe use my strength because mine comes from a Christian angle. I know that the Lord loves me, made me. And you know what? There are verses that I will not even name because I don't even know what they are. And I know Duncan and you, Maria, you can find them. You know, he knows every hair on my head. He made me from, oh my, these amazing, beautiful verses. Made me, I'm beautifully and wonderfully made. I don't know where that verse is because I didn't it's coming off me just speaking. However, that's what it was.
Mhm.
That's what it was. Is he made us beautifully and wonderfully, all of us, not one of us, not any single of us. He didn't make the black people. Homo habilis was in Africa. Could he have made the black people only? No. It's just everyone else had a rhetorical headset. They could change the dialect on anything. But for me, I am a black woman who is proud to be black. And I grew up in Africa. And Maria, I'm sorry, you didn't have to ask that question. But the question about did I ever worry about it before? Do you know what? When I was in Kenya, I didn't ever worry about anything because everybody was somebody. We were just people because we were all black, and maybe because we're all black, and that's fine, fair enough. But when the I discussed with Maria, and I didn't know whether I'll share this or not share it, but when I I I I speak 4 languages. One of them is German because when I was in high school, secondary school, I kind of took that as an extra subject. And at 16, I went to Germany and I lived with a family as a exchange student. And I had another friend that had even gone to the same school. It was so weird. We gone to the same primary school together, which is very rare in Kenya. And we were in the same boarding school together because about the best secondary schools in Kenya are boarding schools. It's just a totally different system, but based on the British UK kind of background. So we learn about 12 subjects. It's crazy. However, so that's why I know science, physics. If you talked with me, I am well versed in many subjects because I can tell you about biology, physics, everything. Christian religious education, German, everything, you know. And anyway, so when I went to Germany, do you know what? I went to school, and on the one occasion, I was with this mom. I walked into a kind of, it was called Kaufland. It's a supermarket kind of clothes store. And the little young guy said, "Mommy, Mommy, I'm smart!" And the whole supermarket are black in German. That's what it means. And I was like, I just felt like I've gone down the earth and under. That's my first real experience of racism because he didn't mean it, but that's how I perceived it. It was when I said, "Oh, I know about racism." When you assume I came by the birth because I'm black, or when as a child you just don't know, but you're like just so curious that this is a black. We were in a village, we're in a small town, but I felt so diminished. And that's the first experience where I felt my blackness is a negative. It's not a positive. In the future, it was about jobs. It was about never getting opportunities. It was about always being not the right fit, you know. But that's what it is. That's what it is, and for us.
Jackie, thank you for sharing all that, and I'm so sorry. Yeah, all those experiences are so horrible. And you already touched a bit on your faith and how that reaffirmed your identity. So I'm just gonna jump straight to last question, which is about the church and your experience of church as a Black woman here.
I'll make it quick because I know I want to have the questions, and we're getting to the 20-minute mark. For
Mhm.
you don't have to do the hand,
Okay.
our gesture. So, um, because I'm a Christian, I've I've been able to forgive because I believe I'm made equally with everybody, and that helps me as a person to run along and carry on. Because I know that God said I am to be, I am somebody. So that gives me, I think if I had mental health issues or other things and I meet people like that, then I would maybe, and I'm not a Christian, then I wouldn't have that assurance. But if I believe God made us all, and I do, then for me, that Christian side of it makes me who I am. And I know that I'm beautifully and wonderfully made. And many other verses, like we're not going to recite them all because we have not much time. Anyway, the other one is I forgave. Even that guy I've seen 7 times, that guy that was so angry. And when he sees me, when I was at school and I walked face to face with him, he looked down. And I think he's having so much grief. If I ever contact him, the police said don't even engage with him. He's been reported as a hate crime, but don't engage with him because you don't want to be hurt. However, if I ever have an engagement with him that he instigates in this instance, I will tell him, I don't hate you. I forgave you. Because I see him all the time passing around mine. I even saw him when I was talking to my neighbor outside and he was passing back past us. And I was like, that's the guy that was hating me, and I don't want to be the person that carries that stuff because we're Christians and my faith has made that difference. I know I did raise the issue of when I was in Africa, my color didn't matter. So that was not an issue. So I know there are 2 questions in this, Maria, from our discussion. So can we open questions from everybody now?
Yes. Yeah, so if anybody has any questions for Jackie and wants her to expand, I don't know, on something she's shared, we have.
Absolutely anything. Seriously, I am strong as an ox. You will not get somebody who will tell you as it is, as I will today. So be free to ask. Because I know that a lot of other people haven't come on that are from a kind of cultural or diverse background. But then it's recorded. And when Maria asked me, do you want to record, Jackie? I said yes, because this is the one thing I can give to ECM that is real. And you can pass that on to those other folk that could be so scared they cannot share what they experience. I've laid it out. So ask any question. I'm happy to do that. No, seriously, you're not gonna upset me. Like I've talked to all my friends, and I'm lucky. My friend Phyllis is a solicitor. She told me because I was never gonna report any of these incidents, and every time I called her and I said, Phyllis, this is what I happened today, and I was crying on the phone, and she said, Jackie, the Scottish government may not know that you've experienced this. You have to report this because then it goes in the stats. So I'm doing that. And that's the only thing I can say to people, report it.
I was going to ask Jackie, do you feel protected by the UK, the Scottish legal system? Do you feel like protected by the police? Or?
The police were great. On both incidences, they never came back to me. I don't know if I should make that a big thing because I'm seeing my attacker walk by every day, but I also don't want him. They said to me, if you see him, they were very clear, do not confront him because if they know where you live, they may then attack you back, So I have not confronted him and I've met him, but I know who he is and I can see he's not looking at me. He's so embarrassed. I think he's suffering more. As a Christian, I think he's suffering more from the pain of not seeing me, sorry, just retract, of seeing me than not seeing me, because when he sees me, he looks down and he's I wish I could just tell him I forgive him. But the police said, do not highlight yourself. That was a clear thing they said to me when they were in my house taking the statement. And they said, do not highlight yourself with that person. because if they're really angry and crazy and angry, they will come at you. Then I will have attacks on my house. I don't need that.
Yeah.
And that goes with the young kids. And the young kids, I forget ages again, but I don't want to. I don't want to be the person that carrying the anger that they carry. Because their anger comes out of something. Maybe they're listening to YouTube or whatever, stuff. But that's not my problem. I've just got to be open with where my problem starts and ends. Is that okay? Have I answered your question?
I have a question as well, Jackie, and I was wondering, I guess what was your experience moving from London, which is a lot more diverse than Edinburgh, to Edinburgh?
It's
and
so diverse.
were you apprehensive about that as well? In terms of race?
No, because you know what? My hubby told me he was tired. He needed a new job, and guess what? He got a job with Sun Life. So I was like, oh my, honey, when we went to Edinburgh for a visit, we loved it. So I'm just gonna move with you. I had no job. Like seriously, this was going like there was no planning here. And I was lucky enough, I got the job with the Church of Scotland for a year to line manage the similar job I had in London City Mission at the time, where me and Duncan worked. But it was a one-off because it was a short term. They were reviewing the team. There was no guarantee I would stay in that job. And then after that, I then went into no job for a while. And then that's another thing, institutional racism I faced, because I remember that I applied for over 30 jobs. Like my CV was so good as a fundraiser that the only fundraising agency would always put me in and they would encourage me to apply, but they would never, ever shortlist me for the job. But because I was a diverse candidate, and then I realized that because I was keeping a tab on Excel, I had all the jobs I'm applying. Yeah, interview, no interview. So I called the CEO of that organization, and you know what I said? Am I a diverse candidate? Like you're just using my CV, which is great, because I've been in all these charities that are amazing and brilliant. And to just show that you have a diverse candidate, because I've not had one single interview from you. Do you know what they gave me as an interview? They gave me an office manager job. And the last time I did that was for ages ago, where I was working for another charity and I was an office manager. So of course I didn't get it when I went for the interview, but they never gave me the marketing fundraising job I was qualified for. So that's where my fundraising marketing career ended in Scotland. So I stopped using them, and then I just went direct to charities that don't use them, that advertise openly directly on their own, right? And maybe for me, those are steps that help me. But it's what it is, I've just kind of devolved into doing my own thing. But you know what? I don't blame them. Some of it is ignorance. And I said that very squarely. There are people that have hurt me out of ignorance. They didn't hurt me because they intended to hurt me. They were trying to be nice because that's what we see in the media. And so I don't blame anyone. when they approach me and say, where do you come from? Because they're trying to see, did I grow up as a child very hungry and desolate and whatever? I didn't. I was lucky my dad had a good job, you know, but some people, my cousins, other people I know did. That's a fact. But that's not my fact of me.
Thank you.
I don't know, Jackie, if you, because I think one of the most I don't know, the big learning from our conversation for me is how sometimes unintentionally you do things, even nice things, but in the other end, the person receives them, and in a
Oh, I didn't cover that. Sorry. We just jumped on. I
yeah.
know. Let's do that. Just if you know, when I shared with Maria a recent example where I went on a Christian retreat, and when I talk about ignorance as opposed to being racist, I I mean it genuinely because I don't want people to think that just everything they do has to be judged in a kind of prism or whatever. You know, I went to a retreat, a Christian retreat recently in Perth. And do you know what? One lady was doing a silent retreat, and we had the option. I had the option to do a silent retreat. I didn't take that on. I didn't in that occasion. However, I I decided to, so I would have had every breakfast, lunch, and dinner and chatting with my three mates who were from other parts of Scotland. This woman was sat on the other side on her own because she said, oh, I like to do a silent retreat when I come here. Sorry, I'm just hydrating there. But so she did, and we were happy with that, and we supported that. We didn't bother her. However, on the one breakfast, she came to me and said, "Oh, you said you're from in Edinburgh, where I live, you know." And so I thought, "Can I offer you a lift?" That's what she said to me. That's overt racism, where, and I'm not even judging it because in this occasion, I'm saying it's not actually, I don't call it racism, but it just means it's ignorance and stereotyping of a group of people as opposed to racism. Actually, I'm going to take that out. I am not calling it racism. I just think some people grew up watching all these African kids being given water or whatever it is, and they don't know any difference. And this woman, she's sorry, she said to me, the reason, she said, "Do you need a lift? Can I offer you a lift? Because then you don't have to take the bus back to Edinburgh where I live." Because we live in the same area in Edinburgh. And I was like confused, puzzled, because I'm thinking I drove right here. I've got my wee Audi down the back, my husband's pick. I would have picked a Peugeot or an e-car, but my husband bought that years ago. But that's the one we have. That's the one I drive. And do you know what? It turned out she had assumed me being black, how in the world could I possibly drive or have a car? Crying out loud. So I remember just saying, God, give me grace. That's the one thing I pray for in these moments. Even when I have to crank up my volume, that's quicker than that. But when I have space or a minute, I say, God, just give me grace. So I answer in a way that glorifies you. And in this occasion, we were in a Christian retreat. She was a Christian, but she made this assumption. She didn't even ask me, how did you get here? Because then we end up in that conversation about, do you need a lift or not? Because if I have a car, I don't need a lift. It was assumed why would I have a car? Why would I even possibly drive? You know, why? But it's just me being Black. And I don't like to say that. I hate saying that because I hate doing those random, I'm a Black person thing. However, this one was like, you, of course, don't drive. So, of course, can I give you a lift? She said it. It's very rare. I've only had it the one time. I'm not saying this is everywhere that you go. I'm not even saying any one of you would ever think that, but that was overt and it was not planned, and it was also just somebody being ignorant, like my boss, like that I talked about in the past. To her, she never ever met a Black person, and there goes me, professional marketing person in her team. You know, she just didn't know the wiser. She was not the wiser for it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Does anyone have another question? I know this is heavy, but I've just given the most I could for this. And I want to encourage people that are not here. That I know that it's hard with being or experiencing racist issues. And I know that Asians, everybody with the pandemic, Asians will experience that. They will, they totally will. You know, anyone who looks like it, even if they're not Asian, will experience that. Everyone who is Black, therefore, with sports and everything. However, I just want to say, because it's recorded, that you can get past it. Just know that you are beautifully and wonderfully made by God. Know that you are the person. I know that I am the African woman that I grew up in Africa, where it didn't matter. Everybody was Black. Just staying in Europe didn't make a difference. It just highlighted that some people have an issue with it. All that's all it is. It did. But I have no issue with my Blackness. I'm happy with it. You know? So in many respects, I think that's the message we want to send to people. And I know time's up soon. And I don't know what you want to add, Maria or Duncan or anybody else. Any questions? Happy to do it. There's 2 minutes for questions.
No, I just want to thank you again. I know this is not easy. We were talking about this yesterday when we had a chat. I know it's not easy. So thank you so much for being so open in sharing, and also so with so much love also for us listening. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop the recording.